All right, so let's dive into Jimmy Butler reportedly close to going to the Phoenix Suns for a bevy of picks in a wacky trade that will reroute Bradley Beal to parts unknown, maybe Milwaukee, that will send Chris Middleton supposedly somewhere, TBD. But the big name in this is Jimmy Butler going to Phoenix. And I kind of said yesterday on the pod, I think a nucleus of Jimmy Butler, Kevin Durant, and Devin Booker is absolutely lethal. I know it's a little duplication on the wing, and they don't have the size to hang with Nurk. Sorry, the size to hang with Jokic. Sorry. It's tough for me to say that they can make the Western Conference Finals. But Rob, here's the case for the Suns rocketing up the charts if they get Jimmy Butler. And I know he's a little up there in age. Jimmy is, let's see, what is he? 35, 35 years old. His numbers are considerably down this year, although he's unhappy. Coming off a monster year last year where he shot 41% from three, averaged 25 and 5. You pair that, a lockdown defender, with Kevin Durant, with Devin Booker, you have a positive influence in the locker room, a leader that I don't know that they had before Butler got there. And yes, OKC's loaded and they're 35 and 7. But do you think that Jimmy Butler, Kevin Durant, and Devin Booker are going to be scared of the Houston Rockets if they face them in the playoffs? Rockets currently are the 2 seed. Do you think they're going to be the least bit worried about the Memphis Grizzlies? Denver's at 4. Clippers at 5. Who knows what the status of Kawhi is? It feels like the Clippers are just being held together by duct tape, smoke, and mirrors at this point. Lakers at 6. We'll get to the complaining Lakers shortly. Luka's out for Dallas. They're cratering. The Kings fire their coach. They get that little bump. Like the West, shockingly, which looked loaded a year ago, Rob, suddenly looks pedestrian. Minnesota Timberwolves, who I thought were going to the finals from the West, are a game above 500. The Golden State Warriors are 11th in the West as we record this. I know people aren't going to like it, but Butler, Durant, and Booker together, I think you can pencil them in for more than one round in the West, and I would not be shocked if they got to the Western Conference Finals.
Wow. I mean, I'm not ready to go that far, and I like Jimmy Butler, but geez Louise. First and foremost, if they're able to get this deal, and all they got to really give up is Beal and the picks. I know the picks are valuable down the road, but for this team, they don't care. Kevin Durant doesn't care. Devin Booker doesn't care. They'll be long gone by the time those picks become a problem. But if you're saying Beal for Butler straight up, then that's a home run for Phoenix, because obviously the Bradley Beal, Devin Booker combination, they're too what's the word? Duplicitous. They do the same thing, and they don't really fit together, right? So Jimmy Butler slides in as the big wing. He can play the 4 in small ball lineups with Kevin Durant sliding up to the 5. He's going to defend really well. You know, he's a proven playoff player. So there's a lot of things you like about Jimmy Butler. Where I will push back on you a little bit, and this is just with regards to you're saying, hey, this move automatically makes them a second round and up type team in the Western Conference, is that Jimmy Butler has very, very quietly slipped as a defender. Okay. I know box plus minus not like the be all end all stats, but defensively, his defensive box plus minus of 0.4 is the lowest of his career this season. Jimmy Butler has never been a 3-point shooter in today's NBA. And given that Devin Booker and Kevin Durant, even though they can shoot the 3, for whatever reason, they don't shoot it nearly enough as they probably should. So when you factor all of those things in, those 3 guys alone, again, I like the fit. I think that that's an upgrade from Bradley Beal. The problem with them, though, is the rest of that roster is the issue. Grayson Allen,
he's coming off the bench. What's wrong with that?
He's your 4th best player.
Well, hold on. This kid Ryan Dunn, the rookie. I know he's a rookie and he's a young guy.
Him.
He's looked awesome. And you got him as a defensive specialist, right? And a 3 and D guy. You got Butler. I know his defense has slipped. I would agree with you. I don't think Tyus Jones is terrible, but I think more than anything, Rob, it comes down to these matchups in the West. I mean, you saw what's his name? Derek Lively was like instrumental against OKC. PJ Washington was huge in the playoffs. Like OKC, they got Chet and Hartenstein. I don't see them playing both those guys against the Suns, but the Suns will be a matchup nightmare. Let's say they trot out Tyus Jones, D-Book, Ryan Dunn, Kevin Durant, and Jimmy Butler. I know there's no true center, and rebounding could be an issue, but then, oh, wait, we got the Nick Richards, and I know you can make Nick Richards jokes and
like
Plumlee jokes, but yeah, he's a hustle guy. And maybe you say, hey, we don't need Tyus Jones in the lineup for this matchup. Like they are flexible. They're heavy on the wing, which I think in the West, Rob, I think that's going to take them far. I know everybody loves OKC, but what would you say is the strength of OKC? They're the length in the wings, right? Isn't
Yeah.
that what Phoenix is doing?
Yeah, I mean, if you make this move again, it's basically addition by subtraction because of the Beal situation. But in this hypothetical scenario where you're saying, okay, if they make this move, how does it help them in the matchups in the Western Conference? Um, if they get Denver again, it's 4-0. Like
That
the, I mean, you
Denver's
saw
not great.
what happened to them last year, and I
Yeah.
think the year like it's not a good
Well,
fit.
that was also the newness, and that's going to be a big problem. I would agree. If you add Butler to adding Nick Richards now,
Mhm.
you've got two guys you're just adding, and they're going to be playing heavy minutes. They're top two of your top seven guys. That's
Sure.
going to take 30 games or something to figure out, you know?
Yeah, and I'll give you the other one. If they get Houston, and I don't think Houston is that great. I think they're a year ahead of schedule, even though the record
Yeah.
says that they're the second. I don't think they're that great. Alperen Şengün very quietly would roast that front court, absolutely destroy them. And OKC, even though in a hypothetical matchup they match up much better with Phoenix and them because of the, OKC they have Hartenstein, but Chet's like 190 pounds. Are you really going to be worried about the size in OKC? But with them, they defend and they run at such a high level. I don't know how Phoenix with their roster and the way they're constructed, if they have the legs necessarily run up and down with them. But again, from where they are and where they've been this season, it's hard not to imagine that Jimmy Butler would just you'd be ecstatic to get him on your team, given where you are right now.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned the Rockets. I'm looking at their depth chart. I don't even know if any of their core players, other than Dylan Brooks, who is 29 years old. Yeah, all their core guys. Well, Van Vliet's 30. I'm sorry, but everyone else, it's like Jabari Smith, Jalen Green, Cam Whitmore. They got like seven guys averaging double figures. They kind of have a whiff to me of those Sacramento Kings teams with White Chocolate, C. Webb, Peja. No superstar first team all NBA guy, but a
Mhm.
lot of really good players. And guess who they ran into? Shaq and Kobe, two massive superstars. And I just wonder if that's going to be the D Book, KD, Jimmy Butler trio. Could that be the undoing of Houston?
Yeah, it's entirely possible. And I know that we probably meant to spend more time on Phoenix, but I feel like that's a natural segue to the other team that we wanted to talk about, which is the Los Angeles Lakers, because there was a report that came out on Wednesday, kind of piggybacking off some other ones, but ESPN's Shams Charania reported that LeBron and AD are growing frustrated with the front office's inability to make a trade because, they feel like they need more if they want to make a run in the Western Conference. The exact wording was they were, quote, growing concerned about it. And to your point, and this is something that I've said about this current Lakers team and I've said for the last few years, is do they have holes? Absolutely. If Phoenix makes that move with Jimmy Butler, do they have holes? Absolutely. But to your point, if I'm going to tell you that I got Kevin Durant, Jimmy Butler, Devin Booker going up against whoever, you kind of got to feel pretty good about it. If, as a Laker fan, if I'm trotting out LeBron James and Anthony Davis against anybody in that top, whatever, 5 or 6 in the Western Conference, save of Jokic, the Lakers could go in there feeling legitimately that they have at worst two of the best three players in the series. If it's against Houston, you feel like you got the two best players. If it's against Memphis, you feel like you got the two best players. If it's against the Clippers, you probably feel like, depending what Kawhi's knee is like, you feel like you got the two best players. And I don't know about you, but I'm really getting frustrated and kind of fed up with this. Again, I'm a Laker fan. I like LeBron James. But do we got to have all the best players? Like, can we not win with an imperfect
Yes.
roster? Like
No.
every team in the league, save for probably Boston, and they're not even playing as well as they probably should, has holes. OKC is thin up front. Houston has no stars. Memphis, they got John Morant, who famously is not a good shooter. And we saw what happened when they ran into the Lakers in the playoffs a few years ago.
Yeah.
Denver has no bench. The Clippers, who knows what's going on with Kawhi? He's already missing time after he just got back. The Dallas Mavericks suddenly are down to center, and they're reportedly looking to make moves. The Sacramento Kings are the Kings. The Timberwolves, the Julius Randle, Anthony Edwards thing doesn't work. We've seen that. Who does have a perfect team that you're concerned about that you're like, hey, if we don't make another move, we're going to be really upset with you? Like, I don't get it.
Okay, so that's a tough one. I am of the belief that you've constantly got to be tinkering and trying to get better in anything,
Hmm.
as a human being, as a father, as a husband, in the gym, with your kids, schoolwork, everything, right? Um, and then in the NBA, the Lakers just made a move. They just got Dorian Finney-Smith. Now I know he's barely played. It's been like 8 games. He's in and out of the lineup. Not doing a ton so far. But you ship D'Angelo Russell to Siberia, aka Brooklyn. Okay. So you're trying. You made a move. The roster is hamstrung because of the LeBron and AD contracts. Now they remember in the offseason, LeBron said he would take less if they could get XYZ. I'm pretty sure they whiffed. I think Valanciunas was one of those guys that they wanted, the
That's
guy we
right.
dunked
Correct.
on last night. And then LeBron was like, "Oh, well, you couldn't get the guys. All right, well, I'm going to go ahead and take all the money." Um, and I know people don't want to believe it. I think Austin Reeves is a certain credible three in this league. I think he can definitely be a third best player on a contender. I'm of the belief, perhaps foolishly, that the Lakers are a contender in the West. They're still tinkering. Remember, Max Christie's starting now. Remember, Dalton Connect had a stretch where he started. Rui missed a couple games. Gabe Vincent is seemingly healthy. Cam Reddish, we're getting Vanderbilt. I'm sorry for saying we're getting Jared Vanderbilt back. Like, we haven't seen the Lakers 100% healthy. And I know nobody's ever 100% healthy, but this report, I'm kind of with you. It just doesn't look great because it's pretty clear where it's coming from, right? Clutch, LeBron, AD, on the heels of what LeBron had said recently, we have no room for error. And you're right. You tally that up and you're like, what do they want Pelinka to do? And that's what I don't get. They don't have the ammo. Are you giving up Austin Reeves? Because remember, LeBron's got what, 1 or 2 years left? Would you say, Rob?
Conservatively, yeah, I would say that. I think two at the most.
How's this for a Hail Mary? How many picks do the Lakers have?
They have two. Well, technically, they could trade three, like two in a swap, but two picks, two first
Okay.
picks.
Two first picks, Reeves, Rui, Connect, whoever you want. Do you call the Warriors and say, give me Steph Curry?
Hell yeah.
They'll say no, of course.
Right.
And I don't know that Curry, LeBron, and AD is winning a chip with, basically minimum salary guys around them. But didn't the Warriors do that with LeBron and the Lakers last year?
Yes, they did.
Yeah. And now Curry's saying, hey, we got to keep our powder dry. We shouldn't make any desperation moves. A lot of people think that was targeted at Jimmy Butler, right? Like, let's not go get Butler. But I don't really know what the Lakers or Clutch expect the Lakers to do here. Is there someone I'm missing that should be on the market that I'm missing?
And the problem is that the guys that you would think would be huge difference makers, it's almost out of your price range because you got rid of the D'Angelo Russell contract. Like, if you want to get in the Jimmy Butler, you don't got the assets to do it. If you wanted to get in on Zach LaVine, like you'd have to put together 4 or 5 guys. And even then, like how is that appealing to Chicago? Like if you want to get Brandon Ingram, if you want to get I don't know, whoever, the guy who's most talked about amongst league circles, not just with the Lakers, but as the biggest quote unquote difference maker you could get at the deadline coming up here, is Cam Johnson. And I like Cam Johnson. I think he's a really good player. He's a big guy who can shoot. But the Lakers just made a trade with Brooklyn, what, 2-3 weeks ago. So you would think if they were going to make a trade with Brooklyn and they wanted to get Cam Johnson, that would have already happened by now. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I don't think any team, unless, this Butler Beal trade comes to fruition, which to me almost feels like shuffling the decks chairs on the Titanic for all three of those teams. I don't think any of those teams really catapults themselves to another level making this move that we talked about. So it's like every team is going to come into the postseason or the spring with some issue that they got to resolve. Like if OKC, that they're the best team in the league right now, them in Cleveland, by a considerable margin. If Shea turns an ankle, then what?
Yeah,
Like,
well, they still got a good roster. They'll
yeah,
be
but
obvious. They could win a round in the playoffs without him. No,
but how many creators do they have on that team outside of Shea?
yeah,
Like Jalen Williams is good. I like him, but
Wallace.
They don't.
Yeah,
Are you
they're
going to
young.
feel great about Case and Wallace?
I just thought back to last year around the deadline, the Dallas Mavericks acquired PJ Washington
Mm-hmm.
and Gafford, I believe,
Daniel
from
Gafford, yep.
from Washington. And at the time, it was those are no big. Those ended up being massive. They had two big centers in Gafford and Lively to split time, and PJ Washington was instrumental. OKC fans surely remember him. He killed them in the playoffs last year. So it was like, ooh, If you're a piece or two away, as Dallas was, they made moves and it helped them get to the finals. They lost, but you got to the finals.
Mhm.
I don't know that the Lakers, although they are sixth in the West, sixth in the West, I don't know that they're a PJ Washington Gafford away from making that leap to the finals. Do you?
Yes, but the problem is the kind of guys that they would need, I don't think is realistically available for what they have to trade. Like they need a creating guard, like an athletic guard who can do things off the dribble. Because
Trae Young?
yeah, sure, sure, yeah. But I know you love Austin Reeves. I believe Austin Reeves on a good team is a sixth man. I don't think he should be your starting point guard.
Sixth man?
Yes, because I mean you've seen him play. You watch all the Lakers games as much as I do. He gets cooked defensively. Like when teams decide they're going to attack someone, they go at him relentlessly just because he physically cannot move his feet as well as some other guys in the league.
So tell me who you're starting on the Denver Nuggets: Christian Brown or Austin Reeves?
Oh, Austin Reeves.
Of course, in a
Yeah.
heartbeat. And the other option for Denver is Russell Westbrook, who definitely wasn't a starter on the Lakers. And he's had a nice little resurgence with Denver, but I think we would agree that's not really going anywhere. This one's a little tougher. And it may be a stretch. So the Cavs have Garland and Mitchell in the backcourt, which is great. But their big weakness, everybody knows, is small forward. They've toggled between Max Strus, Dean Wade, Okoro, Levert. You don't think you could try Austin Reeves, who's 6'7"? I know he'd get posted up, but you don't think you could try Austin Reeves at small forward in Cleveland? It's not going to happen, but I think he would probably start in Cleveland. Maybe I'm higher on Austin Reeves.
No, it's not that he's not a starting caliber player because I think he absolutely is. The problem though is, if he's going to be your starting point guard, then whoever your 2 and 3 are needs to be incredible defenders that are rangy and that can knock down open shots. And that's something every team is looking for. So if the Lakers are trying to get in on, again, hypothetically, Cam Johnson, what's to stop OKC and their 28 first round picks to just come over the top? What's to stop
But wait, hold
Houston?
on. Where's OKC even playing Cam Johnson?
But I'm just saying, if they wanted him, because
They're
because
10 deep.
everybody wants a 3-and-D
Yeah.
wing. So if they want him, they can get him. If Houston wants him, they can get him. And the other problem is you come full circle. The Lakers got a guy making 55, a guy making 50,
Yeah.
a guy making 17, and then it's like, well, how do we piecemeal these contracts together to get somebody worthwhile? So it's
It
tough.
is all about matchups, and the Lakers don't match up great with some teams, although they pushed the Denver Nuggets as hard as anybody last year in the 5-game. They lost it in 5.
Lost in
They
5.
were really good against Denver. Now Anthony Edwards was amazing and knocking out the Nuggets, but
And Minnesota,
Lakers-
I never thought Minnesota was that great, but Minnesota matched up tremendously with Denver with their 2 big lineup because they could have Cat and Gobert. Obviously,
Yeah.
they can't do that anymore, so we'll see what happens with them. But as soon as they ran into Luka was eating them for lunch because that was a horrible matchup for them. You know what I mean? That's the way it works out.
Well, if you run into Luka with Jimmy Butler, listen, he's not going to lock down Luka, but Butler's a smart, heady, tough defender.
Yep.
Do you remember who was it on the Celtics? Was it Marcus Smart or some other guy? He was kind of talking trash. No, it was Grant Williams.
Yeah.
Remember that?
Uh-huh.
Grant Williams talking trash, and Jimmy Butler just went at him relentlessly, knocked him out, and it was just like, oh my gosh, Jimmy Butler doesn't mess around. Now, I think that was 2 years ago.
Yeah, it was like
Grant
2 or
Williams
3
ended up
years.
getting
Yeah.
shipped. Yeah. So, I just think Butler, when he wants to turn it on, playoff Jimmy, that's like a thing. And I'm of the belief Lakers and everybody wants to hand OKC the trip to the finals. I still think the West is, yes, OKC has been a better regular season team. They're kind of Baltimore Ravens like to me, right? They're just deep, awesome, and they're going to blow people out left and right. But come playoffs, I want to see this team operate in a half court. Can they score outside of Shea? And like you said, like they kind of lost the series despite home court advantage against the Mavs.
Yeah. That's the conversation about a lot of these teams. OKC, Houston, the Clippers. If Kawhi's not available, that's always got the TBD.
Yeah.
But Indiana in the Eastern Conference. Can Atlanta? Can you win in the playoffs when these games are played in a phone booth? Because certain teams, like even last year, our New York Knicks, I'm claiming them now. You know that. When they were down every player but Jalen Brunson and Josh Hart, and like it was the 3 Nova guys and stuff. But they played a gritty, physical brand of basketball that a lot of teams just we're not prepared for. Because the regular season and the playoffs, two totally different sports, basically. It's up and down, run and gun in the regular season. The postseason, every possession matters. It's physical. They let you get away with a hell of a lot more.
Oh yeah.
And, we'll see how this works out. Because ultimately, like you said, the matchups are going to dictate. Other than Boston, I don't think there's any team in the league that is not beholden to a matchup in some regard. Even Cleveland, you mentioned they don't have the great wing defender. So if they run into a team with big wings, you're gonna put Donovan Mitchell on them? No. You're gonna put Garland, like you're
Those
gonna
two guys don't defend at all.
You know what I mean? Like you're gonna put Evan Mobley on Jason Tatum. Like good luck. So that's how it's all gonna kind of map out. We'll see what happens.
All right. So NBA getting interesting as we inch closer to the deadline. That's it for today. We're back tomorrow. Talk to you then.